Welcome back to the newest episode of Ryanology. I'm your host, Ryanology, and thank you for tuning in. On this episode, I'm very fortunate to have Kyle Silva filling in for me on our first interview with former student Riley LeConte as she talks through her experiences at Emerson College, as well as an interview with Mike Rosella, one of Mr. Perrotti's former students who was able to hit it big in the Boston video editing scene. Please stay tuned and enjoy.
Today we have a wonderful guest. We have the lovely Riley LeConte.
Hi.
So Riley, you went through Mr. Perrotti's programs here.
I did. Not for my entire 4 years because there was like a little change of staff, I guess. So I was here probably like day one of Mr. Perrotti, which was, it's just cool to see how much the program has grown and stuff, and how much he's like grown as a teacher, which is really, really great. Yeah, I've seen a lot of change here because I keep coming back every couple of, years and stuff to like help out or to, come see that. He always sends me updates on like, we have a new video wall. I'm like, okay, but then when you see it in person, it's like a whole different thing.
Right, it's completely different because coming in this room, you like see and remember what you were here for, and then everything completely changes, and it's awe-striking.
Oh my, absolutely. Like there used to be like a wall of computers like over here and then down there too, where it would just be people like working on editing projects, but it's just, I love the different sets and stuff. It's really cool to see because you can do so much here. Like
right.
you can customize and change anything and like do whatever you want here, which is just really, really neat.
So while you were in Perrotti's programs, what did you work on? Because I don't think there was as much as what we have now. So like in the past, afternoon after school, and then Ryanology, this show. Did you guys still have DHNN or?
We did have DHNN, but it was under a different name. It was called The Tribe, and it was very similar.
Oh, I remember The Tribe.
Yeah.
It was that for my freshman year.
Yeah. But it's changed. I'm glad it's changed, but it has been changed. Actually, I don't know if you know this, but before, right after Afternoon After School was my show, which was called Right After School with Riley LeConte, and it was so different from the production value that you see here, and it also wasn't like part of a class that people had to take, so it was just me and like one other person kind of putting this together. It only had 3 episodes. It's still out there on YouTube. I have a lot more hair than I do now on that show.
Right.
But it was a talk show where I put together interviews with like teachers and staff members and all sorts of people who took time out of their busy schedules to be interviewed by me. But it definitely wasn't as cool. I don't know if this is cool to like be in like the media club or like do the school show, but I hope it's at least cooler than when I was in high school because it wasn't cool back then. But I really enjoyed working on Right After School. That was a really big deal for me because I got to realized that like this could be a job for me. I have a future in this.
Right.
And of course, I loved making different music videos and fun projects in classes. My favorite project that I did here at Dartmouth High School, specifically through the media program, was my near shot-by-shot recreation of Take On Me. And that was it was a lot of hard work. But like, I got to do a lot of like professional but fun stuff here.
Right. So you mentioned the Take On Me project. I don't know if that is still around. I actually haven't gone through many of Perrotti's programs, but what other projects have you done? Like, I know there's a road safety thing. Did you do that while you were in his class?
Yeah, I did. I did do a road safety thing. I brought a bunch of toys from home, Barbie dolls, Polly Pockets, cars of varying like sizes, and I did a stop motion road safety PSA, and the whole premise of the PSA, it's looking back on it, I thought it was like the most clever thing in the world. I was like, I'm gonna move the toys and then I'm gonna make it be real life. I don't know, I thought I was like an M. Night Shyamalan type, I don't know. So I was like, the whole point of the PSA was that I was like moving the cars, and then there was like a Barbie that was like driving very recklessly and listening to her little iPod, which was a piece of paper with a little music note on it. And then it transfers to real life, and there's a real person driving recklessly, and I cast my mom as the reckless driver and my sister as the person who is like almost gets hit by the car.
Right.
But like, you know, it was all I had to like speed up the clip because I didn't want her really driving recklessly down my street.
Right.
Looking back on it, it's nice to see that like creative process and how I used like a different medium to put it together, but I was a little skeptical of the stop motion because I was like, how good can you do stop motion like in like a classroom environment? It's really hard, but I think it's a really important project for people to do because you understand how many frames it takes to make 1 second. And so you have a lot more appreciation and gratitude for wonderful things like a studio camera that can, you know, gather all these frames and put them together, and all you have to do is worry about other things.
Right. It definitely was a task and a half. I kind of took up your steed. I did stop motion, but I tried to do it like in real life when I did the project.
It's so hard.
It is.
It's so hard.
I had to get exact movements of walking through a crosswalk while freeze framing.
Yeah. I'm sure it was a wonderful idea.
Immense respect to the idea of doing it with toys and putting in the extra mile to create your own props and everything.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I mean, speaking of your thing, like it just kind of, people unfortunately are not Barbie dolls and Polly Pockets.
Right.
You know, so that makes it a lot harder to do like real life like projects. So I mean, another lesson learned. You know?
Right. So you are now in college at Emerson, correct?
I am. I'm a senior at Emerson College, which is crazy to say.
Could you tell us a little bit about that and your experiences there?
Absolutely, I can. So I went to Emerson College because I knew I wanted to do television. But when I got there, I realized that there was a lot of different wonderful things I could try. So I ended up working with a lot of co-curricular organizations. So that means that it's happening outside of school, and but you can also get school credit for it.
Right.
Kind of like not like an internship, but you know, in that same vein where you're doing a lot of important work that you would do in a job, and you're also not getting paid. So, you know, that's that on that. But so I worked with the Emerson Channel, Emerson Independent Video, Women in Motion, and the National Broadcast Society. And I worked on lots of different types of productions, and I did lots of different types of things. That was really, I think, where I got most of my experience. So now I can say that I've like written, directed, I've produced, I've done lighting, I've done sound, I've been in my friends' like projects and stuff, because when you're in that kind of like, you know, when that's your school environment, you can turn anything into a film project, and most people do, because it's, for some people it's a lot easier than sitting down and writing an essay.
Right.
That's arguable, it depends on who you ask. But I think being at Emerson has been really great, and I think because of what I learned here at Dartmouth High School, I was able to like make a really smooth transition into that.
Right.
And I really enjoyed that. I think it's been really, really great, and I'm gonna miss being at Emerson. Although I'm gonna be in Los Angeles in like a month, which is so scary.
Really?
It's so scary. Oh my God, it's so scary.
What will you be doing in LA?
No, it's not scary. I'm gonna be fine. But like, it's a little terrifying.
What will you be doing in LA?
So I am gonna be like taking classes full time, but I also have an internship with White Horse Pictures. I can finally say that I'm gonna be an intern at White Horse Pictures.
Congratulations.
So thank you. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be doing script development and research. So for feature films, television, and documentaries, I'll be reading scripts that people have, taking notes on them, and basically doing book reports so that the big executives don't have to read every single page of every single script.
Right.
Some would say it's tedious, but it's very important work.
Right.
And someone has to do it, You never know if you could find a hidden gem, or you could recommend a script that goes on to be like the next big thing. Like you literally never know.
Right. There is so much behind the scenes work that goes on behind these
Yes.
big productions.
Yes.
From something like camera work to what you're doing that may seem minuscule, but is really like,
Yeah.
it's a huge part of the project.
And people put their whole selves into their section. People put
Right.
their whole selves into their part of the project, so that when you look at it, it looks so seamless and easy, but it's not.
Right.
It's the whole thing is depends on collaboration with people, which is really important.
Right. So here at Dartmouth High, we do a little bit with DCTV, our local TV station.
The cable station.
Yeah. We've recently done the telethon for the Fill a Bus event at Target.
Oh,
It was
wow.
our first ever telethon, I believe.
That's
And
really cool, actually.
Yeah, it was
That's really cool.
It was a huge success. We raised over $3,000, I
Wow.
believe, from the telethon alone, and we filled over 2 buses, I heard. I know, it's...
Like actually fill a bus?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
really cool.
It was insane. Getting to the question, while you were here at Dartmouth High, or even after your career, did you do anything with DCTV? Did you work with like Peter Chase and all of them?
Not necessarily. I visited the studio and like the offices at DCTV, but and maybe that is kind of like a little like, not a regret, but like I wish I had done it. I didn't really get to work with DCTV as much as I would have wanted to.
Right.
But I really enjoyed getting to go into the studio and kind of see what they've got.
Right.
Like I remember someone in my graduating class filmed a cooking show there, and like that was really, really cool. I think it was Owen Gilbo who did a cooking show. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like it could have.
Not familiar to me.
He's such a cool guy. Shout out to Owen Gilbo, I guess. But he did a cooking show. He did a cooking show over at DCTV, and that was really neat. But I remember we did lots of stuff with like local businesses. There was a law firm that needed a commercial for like safe driving. Back again with the safe driving thing.
Right.
There was a law firm that needed a commercial for like student drivers, I think. And so they asked a bunch of students to make their commercial, which was really, really cool.
Right.
Yeah, that experience was really great. I got to hold up like the cue cards for like the outside portion, and I was like, this is so SNL right now. If only this was in New York, I would be, this is so SNL.
Did you get the little board? Did you get to say action and
No, but I
No.
do that. No, but I don't know if you guys, we didn't have that when I was here. You guys have a slate?
I believe we had a slate as like a proper
Oh no, not
joke.
had. Oh no, I thought it like you had one and then it broke or something.
No.
No, but like, listen, I get to do that like sometimes at Emerson, and it's always very like, I feel really cool. I'm like, oh, scene 1, Apple, take 1. Or like I was, in a film with my little sister, and so I had her like do the clapper, and like she was so excited to do it because it makes it feel like you're like really in a movie. It's like,
Right.
I don't know, it's getting weirdly starstruck over the little things that you associate with like film and television.
Right.
Which is really cool.
It's definitely an insane experience.
Definitely.
And thank you so much for coming onto the show
Thank you
and
for having
sharing
me.
your experience. It was wonderful to actually get to meet you and have a wonderful conversation
Of
about
course,
film.
it was so lovely to meet you.
Thanks again, Kyle. Now, let's turn it over to the interview I was very fortunate to have with Mike Rosella. Welcome back. On this episode of Ryanology, I'm very fortunate to have Mike Rosella, one of Mr. Perrotti's former students from New Bedford High School. So, good morning and welcome.
Morning, thank you for having me.
So, do you want to take the viewers at home and those watching through a little bit of what you do as your profession?
Yeah, so I can take it back a little bit further and give a little bit of history. So it all started out in New Bedford High School days, working with Mr. Perrotti in the TV classes, just like you guys do here. It just sparked the love for video, and went to school for it at Fitchburg State, and then got an internship at Hill Holiday, which is an advertising agency out in Boston, where we worked on Dunkin' Donuts, Bank of America, Chili's. It was quite a long list of clients that we had, and then after 5 or 6 years ended up going out on my own, and now I'm a editor, colorist, and I do a little bit of animation and some shooting.
And as an editor and a colorist, you find yourself working on a lot of projects.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say has been kind of the biggest accomplishment at your agency?
I think the biggest thing I've worked to this date, there's a toss-up. There's a couple things. So last year I worked on Julia. It's an HBO show.
Mm-hmm.
I was the dailies operator for that, so I was coloring everything that came in, every shot that came in through the shoot day. So I was coloring about 180 shots a day and sending that out to LA to get edited. So that was my first big like TV show that I worked on. So that was really cool to get the experience and the hands-on. The hours weren't so great because it started at 9 p.m. and it went till 7 a.m. And
Yeah.
so it was a little tough that way, but it was a good time. And then I think that was one of the bigger ones, like actually seeing it on HBO, like going, wow, that's cool. But since then, I recently worked on a Marvel movie, and it was the same thing, dailies colorist, where I was coloring the shots for each day for the second unit, which is where you'll see explosions, stunt doubles, basically all the pickup shots that they can't get with the first unit. So I was coloring a lot of that, sending that out to LA to get edited, and getting more of my skills from just coloring every single day. And so that was really nice on the film side of world. For the advertising stuff, I guess there's just been a lot of it. For Dunkin' Donuts, for 4 or 5 years, I was doing all the video boards across the country where if you walked into a Dunkin' Donuts and saw the shots of coffee or donuts or whatever, I was working on all of those. And so I was getting that out there, I was coloring those and editing those together. So it's a toss-up. I mean, that's the best thing about video, is that you can keep pushing yourself and you can keep getting cooler projects and you get better and better each time. And you look back and you go, wow, that's a crazy trail that I just started burning down. And
Yeah, absolutely, and
So-
it's kind of a sense of accomplishment too. You're able to like put your name on something, especially when watching that HBO show, you must have been like, wow, like
Right.
I did that,
Yeah.
which is what a lot of students and just people try and strive for. But for those who may not know at home, what really is coloring?
Right. So I guess there's always so many intricacies of how to explain this to someone, but I guess the best example would be for Dunkin'. Sometimes they would only shoot 2 types of culottes, so you'd have a blue culotta and a red culotta, and then it was my job as the colorist to make all the different flavors. So I would make pink or green lime lemonade, or like when we had Red Bull for a couple of them, you'd only get one color, so you'd have to change the actual color of the drink. So it ranges from that to all the way to the other side, where with COVID, a lot of people were getting like marks and acne from their masks. So you'd have to clean that up and get some of the lines that would be from their masks while they were interviewing. There's a whole board of it that people just might not know about, but it's the movie magic that kind of helps finish the deal and make it a pretty strong looking, like cinematic type of feel to everything. So.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's what a lot of people don't know, what kind of goes on behind the scenes.
Right.
Movies aren't, like the release date, they're not shot earlier that year, they're shot years in advance with people like you and your agency, Minuteman Post, that take the time to color, edit, in audio too, just being a whole nother side of that field as well.
Right. And that's where it opens up more. Like, I know a lot of people leave before the end credits, but if you sit through the credits of any movie or any TV show, like, it goes on for, like, sometimes movies especially go on for like 8 or 10 minutes, and before you think about it, like, there's usually 2 or 3 names across the column or the row, and before you think about it, it's almost 1,500, 2,000 people, sometimes even more than that, depending on what the scale is for the budget and stuff. But yeah, and everybody has their role, and they can just, like, execute, and it makes everybody so much better on set, and makes things a lot easier.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, like, where you watch a scene now, like in the show I worked on, you watch the scene and you remember how many days it actually took to shoot that one scene that probably went by in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, that took a lot more, and I was up a lot of nights working on that. But to see it finally come together too, because I didn't get to see the full edit till it actually came out on HBO. So getting to see all the shots that they actually did take versus the ones that they didn't use, it was kind of nice to kind of see it come together and do everybody the justice so that it turned out to be a pretty good show.
And have you ever, this is kind of more of a fun question, have you ever, like, waited in the theater to see your name kind of go by, or try and look for it among the names?
Not yet, only just because most of it's been on streaming, so I'll be at home doing the same thing. And same thing with IMDb, making sure that that gets updated and credited and stuff like that. So yeah, no, but and same with my parents, they do watch and wait and pause, and especially because on streaming it skips to the next episode, so you gotta be really good at being a professional, watch the credits and clicking that button. So, but it is cool to see it, you know. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's just those little perks, like that they got my name right, they spelled it right, they got everything in there. So that's always a good thing to.
And your work as well, is it all digital, or do you do other coloring by working on print as well?
It's mostly digital, just because that's kind of the format, the medium that everybody's using right now. So the only time it's ever been filmed, it's usually already digitized, which a lot of times has been digitized in New Bedford. I'm blanking on the name of it, but there's a film house that transcodes it to digital, and then you get the digital copies, and then you color that. So that's pretty much where the color comes in on that side.
And for students who may be looking to enter the field that are working in high school groups like this, like the ones at New Bedford, Voc Tech, and really, you know, all across the state, not just exclusive to this area, what would you say is your main message to them, and possibly some techniques that they could use to further advance themselves in the field?
Yeah, I think it's the big thing for video is you just got to have a passion for learning, because that's really what it is, because the technology changes from time, like 5 days at a time. That could be something brand new. Like when I started, Vine was even there. I'm dating myself there, but and now we have TikTok, and Vine's completely gone by the wayside. So you have to keep evolving with everybody, but also learning new techniques by watching that stuff. So a big thing I guess would be is just keep watching, because there's always something new, someone coming out with something different, and then go to learn how do they just do that. Like, oh, that was a cool shot. How did they do that for one single take? And how do I turn that into my work? Like, how can I accomplish that? And I think that's kind of what I would guess I'd suggest to people is just keep learning it, you know, and keep practicing, because there's so many facets of it where you might not want to do color, you might want to just edit. That's fine, but you got to learn how to communicate with the colors, how to get the footage to them to color, or for an animator how they need it, or someone that's doing sound if they need a mix prep the right way. You get to learn those things over time, but so just the passion for learning and being very well organized, it will get you pretty far just with those two already. So
absolutely. And what would you say to students who may not know where they want to go, to kind of show them that media and editing, audio recording, it's a growing field,
right?
And you know, it does kind of connect back to what we were saying of having those thousands of names listed on the movie theater screens, that it's not just one thing, you know, like it takes a lot of groups. So for students that may not know what they want to do, how would you say that they can kind of move forward and hopefully find a career in this field?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people learn like what they really want to do more towards college. So you have time, like especially in TV class, I didn't even know what color was when I was in high school. I didn't really know what it was in college either, because we didn't get to that part, because we were learning all the different aspects of it, of pre-production, how to be a producer, how to edit and shoot and do everything else, and there's so much of it that you don't really find your niche until after college, when you're like, okay, what does the market really want me for, right? So for me, it was an opportunity to move up where I was at my agency, where I was an editor, but the colors had left, and I really thought that was such a cool thing to do the magic trick of the before and after. And so I was like, oh, I want to kind of learn this and see if that's something that I might like. So I started doing YouTube videos to get moving. And then I went out to New York to learn how to actually color through classes out there. And it just worked out for that. But there's so many different facets of film worlds. Like you could like culinary and end up being a catering for just film sets across the board. So there's always a little bit, like even mechanics too. They have mechanics on set for like anything like motorcycles or cars and stuff, or explosives. Like, so it's whatever you're passionate about, you can probably find your way through some sort of the field.
Yeah, so students absolutely going to do what they'd like to continue pushing their knowledge further.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another thing too, where the field is not only extremely lucrative, but it's not something that AI is going to be able to replace, because it takes this many people, because it's the hard work that goes into it.
Right.
So.
And it's hard for AI too to put passion into something, right? Because it's just a robot at the end of the day. Yeah. Even though I know it's listening, so it's gonna take my bank account out right now. But there's a feel to it still, and like being able to tell a story. And I don't think AI is there just yet. And I think it's a nice helper for things, especially with the color world and being able to trace stuff. It's come a long way where I don't have to manually every single frame trace whatever the object is and then keep going for however long that shot is, which could, before when I was doing Duncan, it could be almost 2 weeks worth of tracing to get a sprinkle out of a donut. Now it's a lot easier where there's a lot better tracking programs because of the AI that's out there. So. But yeah, no, and there's plenty of stuff coming, especially with Massachusetts getting the film breaks recently. Like, there's more work coming into Boston. There's stuff being shot down here in the South Coast, and it's starting to gain traction, which is great. And a lot of people don't want to work shoot in LA anymore. They want to come out and be able to have different scenery and sets and stuff, and that's where we're starting to see a big uptick in Massachusetts, which is great.
Yeah, so definitely a new scene.
Mm-hmm.
Students at home, please make sure, especially here at Dartmouth High School, we're so fortunate to have Mr. Perrotti. That's another thing too. I'd like to send a huge shout out after seeing the many successes of Mr. Perrotti.
Yeah.
Obviously here with Mr. Microsella, but also I know we had Riley LeConte on the show a few weeks ago, and she'll also be in this second segment of this episode. Caden Lisa as well. Sending a huge shout out to him. But overall, for students, come and try it out.
Yeah.
You'll see you could possibly like it, enjoy your time, find your groove, and be able to pursue something you like.
And also to tag on to that too, I'll even admit that in high school I was going to go do history. I wanted to be a history teacher. I loved everything about that fields, and I was going straight for UMass Dartmouth history major, and then I took a TV class and it clicked and I fell in love, and Mr. Perrotti is one of the best in Massachusetts, if not, I'd say I know I'm kissing up, but like probably the best teacher I've had in a long time, that got me learning about it. And that's what I think I loved the most about it, was that love for learning, and then video always had something new that you could learn, and Mr. Perrotti was that nice medium that kind of got us there. Yeah, he's got a long list of students that are much more successful than I am, or just crushing it every single day in the video field, which is awesome. If he actually had a list, it'd probably be as long as the movie list, which is awesome. So yeah, definitely come try it out to all the students here, because you have a great facility. This is one of the better ones I've seen for high school. So definitely come try it out. Worst case scenario, you made a cool video and you can talk about it for years, and that's
have
it.
it be YouTube to show it off.
Exactly.
As well, so.
And maybe you'll get a ton of likes, and that's all we want, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much to you, Mike Rosella, for coming on the show today, taking us through your experiences. And I really can't wait to see what comes out next.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Ryanology. I'd like to thank Kyle Silva for filling in for me, as well as Riley LeConte and Mike for coming on the show. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Ryanology, which will be out in just a few weeks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for any notifications or future updates that DHS TV Media will have. Thank you.